All right, folks, let's plow through the rest of this chapter 9 and move on. We've talked about local advertising. Now let's talk about national advertising. There's two categories of national television advertising. There's spot advertising and there's network advertising. Spot advertising represents the local inventory on a broadcast or cable outlet that is sold to clients at the national level. So this is sales that is actually generated by the local television station but happens on a national scope. Network advertising represents the advertising dollars sold by the various broadcast and satellite networks. These commercials are eventually presented during network programming. So these are the sales that are done outright by CBS, ABC, NBC, and we're also lopping in here various cable networks as well. With spot advertising, in order to supplement national campaigns, clients at the national level will advertise in local markets. So these are national brands that will actually make buys on certain local stations because there's an importance to them in one reason or another to boost their brand within a certain geographic area. National sales staff are concentrated in the top 50 markets, although national sales in smaller markets is not impossible, depending on the size of the market, depending on the pull of a particular station locally. It may not happen as much. There would have to be a certain need for a national advertiser to reach out and buy time on a smaller market, or perhaps they would do several smaller markets in one buy in some sort of a collaborative, that sort of thing. But generally, this is going to be something that happens in the more larger of television markets. The role of the rep firm. National and regional sales are usually coordinated with a national representative firm. Firms are usually contracted on an exclusive basis, meaning that they represent only one station group owner in a market. So a rep firm will only work with one particular station in a given market. They're not necessarily network exclusive. They might work with the NBC affiliate in Raleigh, then work with the CBS affiliate in Greensboro, and work with the ABC affiliate in Charlotte, and on and on and on. It just depends on how the contracts work out. Rep firms are compensated through a commission on all advertising placed on local stations. So in that sort of fashion, they will sell the advertising at whatever rate the station deems fit, and it's the same rate that they would sell to a local business, but instead of getting the full price, the rep firm takes a commission, a certain percentage of that off the top, and keeps that as his or her earnings. Besides contracting national advertising for individual stations, the rep firm may provide other services like audience research, assistance with sales and promotion strategies, revenue projections and trends for individual markets, and advice on the purchase of television programming. So they provide all of these different services that empower television stations to make educated decisions when it comes to things like how to market themselves to prospective advertisers. Also keeping watch on what particular programs may be available for syndication agreements in the upcoming months and years. They keep their pulse on that sort of thing and watch numbers and trends as they happen in various markets throughout the country, and are able to give advice to individual stations based on the things that they have experienced and researched. When working with the rep firm, you want to make sure that you are able to work with a company that is going to be aware of changes in the local station's market, changes in programming, changes in competition, changes in rate structures. So hopefully the rep firm is going to be keeping a watch of what is happening within your local market just as much as those that are within your company are watching that market, so that there's this sense of agreement as to what the needs are, what the opportunities are, and that they're talking the same language when it comes to some of the decisions that they think they should make in order to move forward and hopefully advance in the market. Let's talk about cooperative advertising, or co-op for short. Manufacturers share in the advertising costs with local retailers. If the local retailers meet the specific requirements of the manufacturer's co-op plan, the manufacturer may reimburse them for part or all of their advertising costs. So, for example, let's say that General Motors, the owner of Chevrolet, has co-op plans available for the various individual dealers that are out there. So John Heister Chevrolet in Lillington decides it wants to do an advertising campaign. They could potentially team up with General Motors and have General Motors pay for some or all of the advertising that John Heister wants to do, as long as John Heister is willing to follow certain rules that are set in place by General Motors. Generally, that's going to be some sort of a branding sort of thing that they want to emphasize, whether they want to promote certain vehicles in Chevrolet's lineup, if they want to make sure that the dealer uses certain slogans and logos and that sort of thing. Those are some of the various types of terms and conditions many times that a company will have when it comes to local co-op dollars being distributed. A station's co-op coordinator works with retailers to set up the individual contracts, prepares paperwork required by the manufacturer, and sees that copy adheres to all requirements set by the manufacturer. Usually you're going to find a co-op coordinator in some of the medium to larger stations that are out there. There are people that are dedicated to just scouring through various companies and learning what different co-op opportunities there are out there. And as they find them, they keep that information on file, make that available to the sales departments. That gives them a bit of an edge when they call on prospective clients. Automotive, obviously a big industry when it comes to co-op dollars. Also, heating and air conditioning companies are really big in this realm. And there's several other different companies that participate in these types of programs. Internet and digital advertising. There's a number of different ways to advertise online. And here's some of the main ones. Search generates several contextual ads. Advertisers are charged when a user clicks on an ad found by using the search process. There's display ads or banner ads. There's a metric that's known as click-through. This measures how many times a consumer clicks on an advertisement. So that information is recorded, and that is to help keep track of the banner ads' effectiveness. Insertional advertising. You might find this type of ad when navigating between two web pages. This is typically a media-rich form of a display ad, something that pops up when you're trying to get from one page to another and it interrupts in the middle of that transition. And then there's messaging. This is directed towards smartphones and users who have opted to receive messages that can display ads or coupons. This is also another form of advertising. Outsourcing advertising sales, automated third-party selling, is growing as a business practice as media companies learn to manage big data and the opportunities it will provide for selling advertising. Many times the way that this works is that stations will have a certain amount of unused inventory that is available for commercial buys, and they will use some of these third-party companies to sell on their behalf, and that third-party company will earn a cut of the advertising revenue they generate for the station. Some sales terminology. Gross impressions, not ghost impressions, but gross impressions, is a measure of the total media weight and refers to the total number of people reached by each commercial message in a campaign. So how many people are being exposed to your message? Gross ratings points is the sum of all rating points generated in an advertiser's schedule, but looking at the impressions number as a percentage. Reach is a measure of how many different people are exposed to at least one commercial advertisement. And this is going to be kind of, think of this as like a cum number when it comes to individual commercials. How many unique earlobes or eyeballs have been exposed to a commercial? Frequency refers to the number of times an average person or household is exposed to the same advertisement. Repetition is key. Depending on who you talk to as a reference, we tend to suggest that a person needs to be exposed to a commercial announcement at least 3 times in order for it to be effective. So if you get a frequency of 3, then your commercial is being effective in terms of the way that it is being distributed and listened to by an audience or watched by an audience on a media outlet. Cost per thousand describes the cost to reach 1,000 people. With it, one can compare competitors, advertising media, time periods, and on and on and on. Whereas cost per point is the cost of a single ratings point. Cost per point is calculated by dividing the total cost of the ad plan by the total gross ratings points. And actually, if you want to see the formulas for all of these different terms, you can take a look at them. They are in your textbook. We go over these in more detail in both the programming class and in the sales class. Digital marketing terms, there's a larger list than what we'll go through on the notes. If you want the full list, it is in your textbook. Here's some of the more important ones that folks are going to be interested in. Cost per action, CPA. This measures the effectiveness of a digital plan by taking the total cost of the advertising and dividing it by the number of responses desired, resulting in a cost for each response or action. Cost per click is the advertiser paying only when the user clicks on an ad. Just viewing the ad does not count in this figure. Click-through rate, the percentage of users who actually click on the link in an online advertisement based on the total times that it is shown. So cost per click would be the dollar value for the number of clicks that are made. The click-through rate is the percentage of people that click versus the people that have been exposed to the opportunity to click on the link. Impression is when a consumer clicks on a digital ad, an impression is generated. Pay per click, another term for cost per click. Run of network has basically this is a system that places ads over a set of networked sites. So you may, for one price, buy several different websites for an ad to be placed on. Run of site places advertisements at different locations on the particular platform. So you're buying one site, but you're not just buying one page. You're able to have your ad placed in various places. And unique visitor, measuring the total visits to a digital platform by using the Internet Protocol address of the consumer. In other words, the user's unique address on the Internet, where it can say that this person, this user, this Internet account has visited this particular site. And then once that is counted, it's only counted once. So unique visitor is kind of the cum of the Internet, if you will. Promotion as a form of marketing. Let's talk about the duties of the promotion manager, I should say. The promotion manager works closely with the programming and sales and marketing departments in planning and coordinating activities aimed at audiences and advertisers, as well as monitoring and evaluating all campaigns. Promotions managers are very creative-minded and should be excellent at multitasking because of the many different projects that must be managed at any given time. So promotions is really kind of bridging between programming and sales and marketing, in that they have to have the savvy of being able to create content that's going to be attractive to the audience, but they also have to do it in such a way that it's going to be attractive for advertisers to be able to participate in some of the promotions that are going on. So they need to have that sales mindset as well as some of the creativity that is needed to create the kinds of content and the kinds of programs and events that are needed in the promotions world. One of the most versatile managers in the media industries, the program manager, has knowledge of all these things: promotion, sales, marketing, research, technology, and regulatory policies, because one of the things promotion managers do is handle contests, and there are rules and laws concerning how you do contests in the broadcast world. So that is something they need to be especially savvy about. Different types of promotion include on-air promotion. This is the time spent on promotional activities. And when time is spent on promotional activities, that means that time is not available for advertisers. Internet and digital platforms. This is the use of websites, apps, social media, all that sort of thing. Publicity, the free time and space made available by other media. The key here is to design events that other media will take interest in reporting. One of the greatest means of doing this is by means of the press release. And when it comes to other forms of media, there can be crossover promotions such as TV and radio, different relationships that happen there. And that is also an effective way to get the word out about yourselves. Advertising, paid promotional activities, or the time and space purchased in other media. So radio and TV stations are not just salespeople, they also can be clients. Sales promotions designed to attract new advertising clients to a station. This can be various types of emphases where you have sales on the rates of your normal advertising. Perhaps there is some sort of a promotion that the station is doing where they invite advertisers to participate by providing various services or products to be able to use as giveaways, for example. Also, community involvement. Involvement with civic groups and nonprofit organizations on community projects of interest establishes a positive image that's valuable to companies, so that the various organizations will help get the word out about the TV or radio station. Not to mention that it's also helpful in terms of helping the FCC see that the station is operating in the public interest. Now, evaluating marketing efforts. Advertising revenues, audience ratings, and research data all quantifiably indicate a particular marketing campaign's degree of success. So these different metrics are things that we use to help us determine how well we are doing. Less tangible items like goodwill, emails, social media posts, phone calls, letters from audiences and advertisers, these are also considered when evaluating marketing plans. The way that people react to what we do as a media company is going to have a certain amount of pull, especially if there is a majority of folks that respond similarly. Finally, technology is providing increasingly efficient ways to measure consumers' use of individual products and services through the use of big data, location-based services, and digital platforms. It's becoming easier to be able to track certain values, and we can use that information to help us to market ourselves or to help us see where we are falling short and try to come up with ways to improve when it comes to that particular statistic. So that's going to do it for Chapter 9. You know what to do at this point. Study questions, notes, get those turned in. Complete the survey with your insights and your questions and your concerns. And we will talk about those questions and concerns when we get together in class to discuss this chapter.